Okay, so I'm Rick Oldenburg, Executive Director of the South Sound Plan Giving Council, and also proud to serve as the volunteer co-chair of the Leave 10 South Sound initiative with my peer and good friend, Evelyn Ryberg. When you realize that both the council and Leave 10 have the same basic outcome in mind, which is to give nonprofits and professional advisors more reasons and more knowledge to help talk about planned giving, well, it's no mystery why this is a pairing made in planned giving heaven. So first, let me just say this. Um, it is first an initiative created by local nonprofits, professional advisors, and donors to educate, encourage, and inspire people to give back. It is really simple. It's a easy to communicate idea, encouraging everyone to consider leaving 10% of their estate behind to invest back into communities that made us who we are. Really, like I say, simple. Before we go any further, though, let us thank the people and the organizations that have supported us financially. We would not be here without them. Greater Tacoma Community Foundation, the foundation, the Community Foundation of South Puget Sound, and the Ben B. Cheney Foundation. And our sincere thanks on their belief in what we are doing here. So thank you for joining us today. We wholly believe that leveraging national initiatives that are getting promoted and played on media and throughout multiple educational organizations locally is a way for you to even be more successful in promoting planned giving at your organization. This is the second time in 3 months that there is a national focus on estate planning, the first being, of course, last month's Make a Will Month. And they benefit you and increase exponentially the number of organizations participating in NEPA and Leave 10. And it all grows as more and more of us participate. So encourage other nonprofits you know to participate as well. So back in, yeah, okay, I'm off slide behind. Back in 2008, the U.S. Congress proclaimed the third week in October each year as National Estate Planning Awareness Week. This year, that's October 27th. Okay, whoops, got one ahead of me. October 27th through 21st through 27th. Okay. Uh, Local activities. Leave 10 is busy spreading the word all ways you see here. We're a busy bunch of volunteers, and over the past 3 years, more than 30 nonprofits, professional advisors, and a few donors have given literally thousands of hours to help push this initiative forward on behalf of our communities and, of course, you. So their efforts have resulted in 180 plus individuals, nonprofits, and professional advisors signing up as champions to show their support for what together we are accomplishing. So in a few minutes, you'll see how two local organizations have made it pay for them. Our volunteers have developed a NEPA page on the Leave 10 South Sound website. Just type Leave 10 South Sound into your browser and it will take you to the site. Then click on the For Nonprofits tab, use the pull-down menu, and choose the second block of options, which includes Make a Will Month and National Estate Planning Awareness Week materials. I will also email you after the meeting, because I know who you are, that same list of things that but have a little bit more of a focus on what you can use and things that we thought might be of more use to you for this NEPA experience. As you see, you can also get some help through 4 organizations, shown here. So Leave 10 South Sound Steering Committee, South Sound Plan Giving Council, Greater Tacoma Community Foundation, Community Foundation for South Puget Sound. Okay, well, with all the good news and all the good things that are happening, there's still some disturbing trends that are showing up. And so um, here are a few of the stats from the 2024 Wills study conducted by caring.com. And this is really troubling. 32% of Americans have a will, but that is a 6% decline from 2020. And since 2023, 14% more adults said a lack of assets was their reason for not planning. That's a little interesting. The number of white Americans with a will decreased since 2020 by 3%, but the bright spot was young adults 18 to 34 has increased greatly since 2020. And we'll get into an exact number here in just a minute on that. Adults having a will dropped to pre-pandemic levels. This graph shows that. Yeah, it was back at 32% in 2020 before the pandemic, and we're back down to that again. Okay, also disturbing, 1 of every 4 Americans without a will don't plan on getting one. 43% said they plan to wait until they experience a health crisis. Others said they would have a will at death of a loved one, family expansion, purchase of a home, retirement, or other age milestone. But 23%, strangely enough, said nothing would motivate them to have a will. This is maybe one of the most disturbing of the graphs, and it points out why we as nonprofits must keep presenting the case of having a will and estate plan. Leave 10 South Sound has been working in a 5-county area now for 3 years, promoting not only I'm sorry, there's the one I was supposed to be on. Anyway, promoting not only, uh, for 3 years, promoting not only investing 10% back in the community, but also getting wills and estate plans drawn up and maintained in the first place. And we are doing all we can do to help you leverage the work of this initiative to propel your own work in your own community. Leave 10 South Sound is promoting National Estate Planning Awareness Week. In lots of ways, we're leading into this third week of October. One way is with a free basic estate planning content, which we are presenting again on another live feed on Thursday, October 24th from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. It's called Securing Your Wishes. Where there's a will, there's a way. This presentation is easy to understand. It's full of current and updated information for gift planners, professional advisors, and donors. Let me stress this is a basic educational presentation, not a solicitation of any kind. And if your donors attend, rest assured we do not share our attendee lists with anyone and we don't solicit gifts, period. So none of us got here by ourselves. Anyone who has ever been able to sustain good work has had at least one person, and often many, who have believed in him or her. We just don't get to be competent human beings without a lot of different investments by a lot of other people. Thank you, Fred Rogers. And like Fred Rogers, we contend that it is now our turn to consider how we can leave the world a little better by believing in others and making investments in them and our community for the future of all. So here are the things you can do and you need to remember about the Basic Estate Planning Program. Where there's a will, there's a way. National Estate Planning Awareness Week is October 21st to 27th. Securing Your Wishes, it's estate planning made easy and understandable. It is live from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Thursday, October 24th, free on Zoom, also streaming free on YouTube. The program will be presented by a seasoned South Sound estate planning attorney, and you'll see a little bit about her in a minute. Okay. Did I get ahead now? Okay, so here is our presenter, Lauren Pittman, JD of Pittman Huff Rydell Magro Lifetime Legal PLLC in Olympia. As you can see, she graduated with honors from Seattle University Law School and earned her undergraduate degree at maybe a college you've heard of, Cornell. So here are some of her accomplishments and recognitions. Our goal is high caliber presentations that make basic estate planning understandable and usable by those who have not studied it. So what happens if you grab onto the National Estate Planning Week and run with it, even just a small part of it? It just takes one or two ideas and some action, as you will now hear from two of our organizational panel. There are other success last year as well, but these two have outstanding experiences to relate to you. So let's get right to it. Here to tell you a little bit about how they used these national initiatives to propel themselves. First, Dean Carrell, Foundation Director, Pierce County Library System. And second, Sherrana Kildun, Chief Philanthropy Officer at Tacoma Pierce County Habitat for Humanity. Dean, let me hand it off to you first.
Great. Thank you, Rick, and welcome each of you. Thank you for taking a little bit of time this afternoon to kind of lean into this easy opportunity, I believe, for all of us as nonprofit professionals representing our organizations. Before we get going, this is just an anonymous poll we want to take. I want to know how many, and we're not going to see your result, okay? We're just going to see percentages. So how many of you have not created yet a will of your own, or if you have created it, have not updated it within the past 5 years? And if you can answer that we'd be very appreciative. Okay. We're getting the answers. How many of you made a will or updated it in the last 5 years? Okay. Maybe we can share the results, Genevieve. And
Can you see those?
so it looks like, yes, we have 7 out of 15 respondents. So close to half of you said that you have created a will in the last 15 years have created a will or updated in the last 5 years. And then at least there's 8 of you that said no, that you have not yet created a will or updated it in the last 5 years. So this is good to highlight based on what Rick shared with us in terms of those percentages that he found from his research study. And I guess I just wanted to let's take the guilt, the shame out of all this. Let's just kind of lay our cards on the table. And I'll say with myself, when I became a plan giving fundraiser midway through my career, it was about the same time that I was having my firstborn child. And that was my first triggering moment to say, I think I need a will. And so we drafted up our first will. And I will tell you that will was in place, I'm bad, for 20 years until the pandemic hit. Both my children were over 18 years old. And I thought there's something I need to do about this. And I updated my will just 2 years ago. So it's not too late to act. And I just want to say, I think it's best that if we're going to be talking to individuals about creating a will or updating a will, that it might be wise that we try to do that ourselves as well. It just kind of lends credibility to the process. But I'll leave you to the next step for your journey that way. But let's back to the program. I just want to say that, when I think about my own estate plans, my own life, I heard something a couple days ago which could apply maybe to all of us in the theme of which we're talking here today. And it was a gentleman that said, may my life not end with a period or an exclamation point or a question mark, but may my life end with a comma, meaning to continue on. And I just really love that because it's something that as we're engaging in this work, this very important work, we're thinking about it ourselves and how we approach our work, but we're also thinking about those individuals that we engage with and why it is that we want them to continue pursuing, listening to our message and hopefully acting on it. Because our physical lives should end with a comma so that our stories continue. Part of our stories is the legacy we leave through what? Hopefully our estate plans. And so let me talk about NEPA and the Pierce County Library Foundation and what we've chosen to act upon in terms of utilizing this free opportunity. And I should say, when we get through both presentations, both myself and Sherrana, then that'll be a time to open up the floor and ask questions, and Genevieve can also help us maybe field any questions that might have entered chat. So let me just, wait, I don't have slides, just kind of a verbal presentation here, but I'll share with you that what our campaign does to promote NEPA are several things. So from the Pierce County Library Foundation side of the equation, we have up on our webpage from October 16th through October 31st, advertisements not only about NEPA and the importance of it, but a link to the presentation that Rick was mentioning earlier. We also provide an email that would go out to all of our donor base that we have emails for, and that would also go prior to the 24th with a link to this presentation, and would also go after the event through October 31st, a second one saying it's not too late, even though we're celebrating, quote, the week of NEPA of the 21st through the 27th. And that's from the Pierce County Library Foundation point of view. We exist to support the Pierce County Library system, and in the spirit of being a public library system, we believe in shared information. We believe in access to that information, and we believe in the equity of the process in getting that information. And it's about that I want to speak to, because I think what Rick showed us in those slides is that some people think, well, maybe my estate's not large enough to deem having a will. Well, we know that's not true. And so we want to dispel any myths that are out there, and we want to promote the correct information as opposed to misinformation. So again, another value of the public library system. So what the library does to support the foundation efforts is that the library will place posters, physical posters, in all of their 19 branches across Pierce County. Those posters will highlight NEPA the week, the 21st through the 27th, as we'll also have a QR code linking to the presentation on the 24th that Rick mentioned. The library is also set to email out to all of their card holders that are 18 years and older, advertising with the link in regards to the presentation. In that, we've got about 300,000 card holders, and roughly close to 125,000 of those are 18 years and older. So that's a good distribution region-wide to at least get the message out. Hopefully no one's hitting delete, but reading it. Also, the library runs a social media post around October 16th in support of the event. And then the library also, across each of their branches, at all of the public computers between the dates of October 16th and the 31st, run a digital banner across the screens advertising NEPA plus this event that's happening. So I'm fortunate to be working for an organization that has broad coverage. And again, in the spirit of sharing information, we're kind of acting like a public service announcement for this very important, I guess, this deed for us to follow through it at some point in our lives, hopefully sooner rather than later. But that's how the foundation as its own entity, and then the library in support of what we believe important, are helping promote NEPA. And I will say, the billing for this event today was talking about, listen to 2 success stories. I think we can all raise our hands and say, sometimes it's really hard to determine success when you're in the field of planned giving, because we can point to, okay, there's the current results that are attached to a future event. And it's up to us to be good stewards of that as we move forward. Well, NEPA last year really helped solidify that message in combo with the Make a Will Month that we've participated in the past 3 years. So all in all, I believe participating in each of these events that we've talked about really have helped us identify double fold those bequest notifications that are coming to the Pierce County Library system via the foundation. So I just wanted to put that out there. We'll have time for questions later, but I want to introduce my colleague in crime. No, not crime. My very professional colleague, Sherrana Kildun from Habitat for Humanity. Sherrana?
Thank you, Dean. Hi, everyone. It's good to see such great faces of friends. Thank you for joining us today. I was joking with Rick and Dean and Genevieve that I feel like you all are probably sick of hearing about Tacoma Habitat and how we're leaning in so much with Leave 10 and all of the great things to promote this. And I just have to say, again, we're not presenting any slides today, but I really wanted to kind of share the story about why the resources that Leave 10 produces make this so easy, especially for an organization that doesn't have a professional plan giving person. has a limited budget. Ours might be a little bit bigger than some folks, but I just think that being able to participate in these broader community efforts, Leave 10 makes it so easy, both with Make a Will Month and with the and with NEPA. And so whenever these come out, I get super excited because this is the content that I want to share both with my donors, our volunteers, and even our staff. So we've participated now in both Make a Will Month and NEPA for 2 years in a row, and have been part of the Leave 10 effort since the get-go. Huge champion. And I just have to say that as we've slowly developed our planned giving program, getting my own team members more comfortable talking about it, our staff thinking about it, it's slowly grown over time. And so just a little bit of a reflection about last month was year 2 of us promoting Make a Will Month. And in the first year, we ended up getting over 24 new legacy commitments. And this year we got about 9, which is amazing. And between the two, that's over a $3 million commitment for Tacoma Habitat. And so then I think about NEPA as just right around the corner. It's another way in marketing exposure. And really, it does take people many times to hear this thing to actually get to action. And we saw that with Rick and the statistics. I mean, if we're down only 32% of Americans have a will, I've seen it different numbers on that, but that was a recent survey at care.com. That's unacceptable. And you think about the challenges and the burdens that places on family members at time of death and the probate they have to go through. And I know I've said this before, but taking the time to put down your wishes and the things you care about most for your family during your lifetime, your will really is the last moment that you get to declare what you care about most in the world. It is that legacy. It is showcasing your values. And we want to try and make that as easy as possible for people. And I think between our partners with Leave 10, I love that the library system, you reach so many people, Dean. And I think about the smaller nonprofits, we can capitalize on that. Pierce County Library System has the Free Will program. And so it's even, promoting that Free Will program could promote your own organization because it is free for people, So I think there's ways we can capitalize on what other partners are doing in the community, even if you can't necessarily afford a program like Free Will, because it is a little bit pricey. But as we are thinking about this NEPA, National State Planning Week, we are going to be doing some social media shout outs. We're going to be sending an e-blast to our 6,000 constituents on the October 24th event. We're going to be hosting a session in our boardroom for our staff to be invited, and some donors who've expressed interest, encouraging people to sign up themselves to learn about it. Again, free resources to just break down the scariness of what goes into estate planning, because it really is not that scary. I'm going through it right now as an update, and I just feel like it can be a really exciting process to be thinking about things, and I just encourage everybody to do it if you haven't. And like I said, Habitat has Free Will, Dean has Free Will, I think the Community Foundation is thinking about it. You don't have to have it as your organization. You can promote it to other people, because you could be one of those charities that they fill out. Habitat doesn't have to be the charity they fill out. They don't even have to have a charity. It's just actually a free service. Freewill.com, you can do it yourself as well. And then with Leave 10, we are connected to so many outstanding estate planning attorneys that are here in the Puget Sound that care deeply about this work. So it's a really easy referral source. If you go to Leave 10 South Sound and you drop down to all of our professional advisors, you have a free resource of valid champions and people if it's a more technical thing. So I'm really excited about what questions people have. Again, I'm a huge champion of leveraging and making it easy for us. Is a really busy, we're here to try and build operations for today, but also inspire opportunity for the future. And so if we can leverage what these events are that are free service, and share it within our constituents, it's just going to continue to grow. And again, I think we've all seen the statistics about the wealth transfer that is currently happening in our community. And again, if we can inspire people to just consider leaving 10% of their estate to the causes they care about most, oh, what change we can make here in Pierce County. So with that, I think we're going to open it up for questions and any other bright spots that are out there.
So there's two things you can do. You can open up your mic and ask the question if you want to, or you can drop it into chat. And Jen is watching that. She'll push them on off to one of our folks here. Any questions at all? Pretty straightforward. How many, just show of hands? I don't see a lot of faces, but show of hands, maybe you could raise your hand on your screen. If you are looking at doing something yourself in the area of planned giving, how many of, first of all, are already into planned giving? Raise your hands. Doing something, some sort of, and again, you can raise your hand on screen, or you can do it, any other way you want to do it. Okay. How many are wanting to get into it, but don't quite know how yet, or haven't figured out an easier way to get into it? Hands? Okay, well, I'm seeing a few. Yes, all right. So I guess what I would say is just make sure that you realize that everybody on this screen, Dean, Sherrana, myself, Evelyn, who started out in the banking business and ended up in our business, we all started at ground zero at some point or other. Every single one of us didn't know which end we should look into as far as the ask or the presentation or whatever. We just didn't know where to begin. And I think it would have moved a lot faster for us had we had a resource like Leave 10 at that point. So I'm going to go back into sharing here. Again, if you have questions, just drop them into chat. Somebody has a question?
There's a Jay Robertson that says they have a question.
Okay. You want to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, there we go. So Joyce here. Yes, so I thank you for doing all of this. So Sherrana, is that how you
Sherrana.
pronounce it?
Sherrana.
Sherrana, there you go. Thank you. So when you talked about doing social blasts and inviting your audience, you mean you're inviting them to go to the webinar on October 24, and then they hear from whoever, an attorney or someone that talks about how to do wills, that kind of thing?
Yep.
And then what? I mean, you may not know who attends. How did you set it up so that you would have to know who the people are who know you or know about you, who are on your mailing list?
So we send it out through our broad email distribution list. So it hits over 6,000 individuals that are donors, volunteers, homeowners. We have a very broad audience. And I think it's a resource that it's important for everybody. And then they register directly with Leave 10. So no, I don't know who attended unless they tell me. But I also see this as an education and like Dean said, public service announcement for important things that eventually benefit us, but it also positions us as a resource in the community, which donors and our homeowners and our volunteers really appreciate. So from an ancillary benefit, we did Make a Will Month last year and this year, and we did NEPA promotion last year. And I've had many volunteers and donors come up to me over the last couple just saying, hey, you're the person I know I need to talk to if there's ever a planned giving question, right? And so you start hearing that on a more and more basis, the more that you put it out there that your organization promotes this, supports this, endorses this. It's an important thing to do. And then you can have the conversation about what a planned gift to your entity can look like. But I see this as educational and a resource, and I don't mind if I don't know if my donor signed up for the Leave 10 event. That's okay. If they come back to me later and we have a conversation, I think that's exciting. That's how you follow up. But then I've also taken the recording last year that was completed and we embedded it in our newsletter as a follow-up resource in November. So I've also done that for different presentations that we've done as well, again, seeing it as an education for the community.
And if I could add too, Sherrana, on top of that, and it's Joyce, is that correct?
Yes, right.
Yes, to that last point that Sherrana made, being able to message out to the donors of the org, the link to the recording, that can be easily customized to say, and please contact me with any questions you have about this recording, as opposed to just leaving it out there to ether what will happen. I just think that's a really great practice that Sherrana is doing. And in fact, it was her from last year that helped inspire us to want to do that as well this year. So yeah, thanks, Sherrana.
Other questions?
This may have been touched upon, but I was watching the chat. But we do have a question about getting a group license for free will and what that looks like. If anyone could provide a little more information on that.
So I'm not sure. I've heard rumors from Doug Page that there was a conversation the Community Foundation was considering. What that means, what that looks like, how that will look, I am not sure. But I think the more of us that go to GTCF and Doug Page and say we really need this, the more likely it might actually happen. So we can advocate and champion it, but I think it would be a great resource, especially for smaller nonprofits.
What is the benefit there, Sherrana?
Of GTCF having a free will program for others?
Well, of us going and talking to them, how does that help and how does it coalesce?
That they know it's a resource that our nonprofit community wants, so it's worth the investment. Because a license is probably a higher cost than it would be me as a single organization.
And I'd also mention too, in regards to if that's not, I've heard the same thing, Sherrana, and I hope that does come to fruition. Until that time, it's something that I continue to engage my board in conversation with, because again, the age-old conversation with board members would be, did the annual fund hit its goal? That's the first question. And then eventually, tell us what's going on with planned giving. Well, if you can't speak to that this is an investment in the long run, and that whatever the subscription fee is per month, to what Sherrana was saying, this past year with, or this past month with Make a Will Month, we had 23 new identifications come forward. And I think 5 of them totaled about $1,000 a piece. Now that's great. I know who they are now, but that's also $5,000 that is going towards a subscription eventually that I can share with my board that this tool is paying for itself. And not that this is a free will advertisement campaign. It's not. There are other platforms out there to use that work similarly. And I would encourage each of us to always be as nonprofit savvy professionals to look at what those subscriptions rates are, what those tools do for us, and is it worth the while to invest in them? So that's what I would put in my 2 cents.
Other questions? You have these 2 people who have this rich experience sitting in front of you. If you have any questions rattling around the back of your brain, now is the time to ask.
Well, I guess my question to the group is also, what prevents you and your organization from promoting some of these free tools and stepping into the conversation of planned giving? Leave 10 makes it real easy. So what's
Okay, well, let's do this. While you're thinking about that, let's come back to that little piece. All right. Cogitate on that a minute.
It looks like we did have a great question. It says, how do we need to be ready for questions afterwards, other than to have the language to drop into a will? What other readiness to answer questions will we not, what other readiness to answer questions when will we not know answers, or maybe
Okay.
the,
And I'm assuming they're talking about after the presentation. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So let me take the screen back now. I'm going to start sharing again, and we'll get through the rest of this, and then we'll come back to that question about what is holding you back. That's a great way to end this, and we can all be. I mean, you're among friends and peers now. We can all be honest about this, and deadly honest and deadly serious about what we can do to help you. Not too deadly though. All right, so we're done with questions, but here are the things that that we'll do in wrapping up the program. Many nonprofits have told us they don't have the time or the network of professional advisors yet to put an estate planning program together. We think this is a great first step if that happens to be you. The program that's going to be presented on the 24th, where there's a will, there's a way. The program is 90 minutes in length. Again, 11:30 to 1 o'clock. It's Thursday, October 24th. 50 minutes, maybe 55 minutes. The first part of that will be basic estate planning information provided by our attorney. And it's created especially for nonprofits, their board of directors, professional advisors, and donors. It's presented by our outreach committee of the Leave 10 South Sound Initiative, and it is free to everyone and live on Zoom, and again, streaming live on YouTube. The final 30 minutes of that 90 minutes, though, will include a panel of local professional advisors to help field questions from the audience. So we'll have a selection of professional advisors right there. If you have your own, you could have your own if you're viewing this in option number 2, which we'll get to in a minute. But if there are lulls in the questions coming to the audience, then each one of those professional advisors is ready to fill in with information on why it's so important in their neck of the woods in the plan giving process, why it's so important to have a good estate plan and an up-to-date will. The professional advisors will be, of course, Lauren Pittman. Jeff Myers from Bank of America will weigh in. He's going to represent and answer questions for big organizations and that sort of thing. Bob Heck, who is a CFP down in Olympia, will be one of those. And Jeannie Sachs, CPA here in Tacoma, will be the 4th. This is in real time. It contains Washington-specific content in support of National Estate Planning Awareness Week. All right, so was I supposed to show some things? Oh, yes, I was supposed to show those. All right. I'll let you read this. It's like, I'm not doing a very good job at advancing these today in the order they're supposed to be. So here are 5 specific things you need to do to participate. First, register yourself. If you know you're going to do it, you can do it now, and there'll be a QR code and a couple more slides that you can just flash onto your phone and register right now. Decide who to invite. You can invite staff members, board members, your CEO. Hey, you may need to do a sell job on your CEO and your board members if you're thinking about promoting planned giving. And this is a great way for them to start getting acclimated to the fact that there is a good reason for us to be promoting wills and estate plans. And just your peers, your friends, your neighbors. Okay, decide how you want to participate. Well, the easy way is just to hand off the link and say, tune in on the 24th, and here it is. If you have questions, call me. Okay? That's one. Just have them register for the Zoom. The second is do something special, like host a meeting and project the YouTube stream to your organization or at an offsite source, like maybe in a nice meeting room in the library or at a cafe or something. I was surprised when we were talking just a week ago with the plan giving director out at the Museum of Flight. She said last year, and I saw her name on. She said last year she took that advice and she invited a bunch of her donors in, and at the Museum of Flight they had a room and they showed this, And then she had her own group of professional advisors there to answer questions specific to the Museum of Flight. It wasn't the general part that we're going to present. So there's a way to use this because, it's difficult to put some of these things together if you've got 5 other things you're trying to do in your life as far as fundraising is concerned. But here you've got an organization that put the content together for you. We get nothing out of it. It's absolutely free. We don't bang the drum for you or anybody else. That's up to you to do. It is to help propel you forward, not us. Okay? It's you. Leave 10 is an initiative. This isn't something anybody's getting paid to do. So just keep that in mind. This is a small pond we're in, this planned giving pond. It's getting bigger. And the bigger it gets, the more we all say the same thing, the more this message gets out, the better we all do. All right, so use Leave 10 South Sound website and handouts for ideas on how best to invite those you think would benefit. Remember, there's the South Sound Plain Giving Council also has a website full of materials that you can download. So send email invites, use social media, or for special donors and donor prospects, consider a personal letter inviting them to participate in one form or another. All right, so I've gone through all of those. Boy, I'll tell you, I'm doing a terrible job on this. Participate in NEPA can help you on the road to even greater success. So it's easy to participate. It's good for you and your organization, your board members, your coworkers. You can encourage to create your own materials and invite email invites to communicate the importance of having an updated will. There's all sorts of things you can do that don't cost a lot of money. Invite everyone to join the Zoom meeting on the 24th and the opportunity to learn just basic estate planning. Donors especially need to be proactive about this. And remember, generally speaking, if there's no will, there are no gifts to your nonprofit. There are just a few things that go around that, like a beneficiary designation, but the will and the estate plan, if somebody loves your organization and they don't have it in place, you're going to lose out. All right. So thanks again to Dean Carrell, Sherrana, Kildun, for all that they did in preparing for this and coming up and staying around here for a few minutes to answer any more questions you have. If you've already decided that you're going to attend yourself, go ahead and sign up right now using the QR code on your screen. We hope you'll participate in NEPA in one fashion or another and take advantage of the estate planning content on the Leave 10 South Sound website, as well as Where There's a Will, There's a Way, which attorney Lauren Pittman created and will present free to all on October 24th. Okay, so thank you again for your interest in Leave 10 and the South Sound Initiative and for participating in National Estate Planning Awareness Week. Thank you again for joining us, and we're going to stay a little bit longer and answer your questions and maybe get back to that one, which I think is really, really good. And that's what's stopping you from getting started. Okay. Anybody thought about that one? What holds you back?
No, but what I think my question about the being prepared is more of it's not just for October 24th, but let's say October 24th. So questions might be, I got a phone call, which has never happened before. Oh, I'm selling my house. Do you take that? I'm like, So that's an outlier. I would think, most of this is here's language to put into your will. And so since I now at least have the language to put into a will, that's something, right? But I am in the limited time that's available, wondering what I think that holds people back. Normally it's time. They don't have time to, they're trying to do many different things other than planned giving. But in addition, it's being ready for it. If someone wants an answer to something like, other than here's language to drop in, how do you be easily prepared for that?
So I've got a quick answer for that, and that is on the Leave 10 website, we have what we call a whole book of ideas for you, a handbook, basically. It's a toolkit. And if you'll go to the nonprofit dropdown, there's a nonprofit toolkit. If you simply download that, you will see the answers to almost all of the questions you're talking about. There is sample language for wills. There's all kinds of ways to start the conversation. There's ideas on how to present this information. There's even some suggested letters and communication thoughts. So there's just a wealth of ideas. It took a year and a half of and this included not only the South Sound, but also Leave 10 up in Seattle and in Kitsap County. So we probably expanded the brain trust there to about 50 people, put time and effort into pulling all of that information together. Evelyn, you're here. You were really up to your eyebrows in that process. You want to talk a little bit about some of the special things that Joyce might be interested in?
Yeah, that toolkit is definitely designed for the nonprofits that are more smaller in size and are pretty much starting out. And it's in just very easy to understand language, not overly complicated, and really starts you out with the basics that you need to know in order to get your plan giving program started. And it was developed by a group of very successful plan giving officers who have years of experience that are sharing that experience with the rest of us. And so I do feel that it's a really important tool. And then of course we have our continued webinars that we do that really get deep down into some of those topics in the toolkits too. So it's continuous learning. You're not going to learn everything all at once or just from reading the toolkit once. I mean, it's continuous learning. But I also want to point out is don't be afraid to say that you may not have the expertise to answer the question that your donor is asking, let's say about a gift of real estate. But just say, you know what I would like to do is to, explore ways that we can accept that gift for you. And let's schedule a time to get together. And then reach out to one of the Leave 10 mentors or your local community foundation, because when I was at the community foundation, I did it all the time. I went on joint conversations with other nonprofits to help them through these more complicated types of gifts. And not to take the gift away from you. I mean, seriously, to actually help you through accepting those gifts. And so those are really important partnerships to build and resources to have in your back pocket.
Yes, something I was going to, excuse me, Joyce, something I was going to just riff off what Evelyn said is that the Leave 10 website is a tool, and like most tools, the more we use it, the more proficient we are with it.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle, right? Exercising it. So there's that, which I'd also say too, in the resources that were compiled into it, while some might seem technical, the experts that helped compile and put this together had in mind those smaller shops that might not have that almighty thing called time as a resource, and or even budget for that matter. And so it's a very helpful. It eliminates trying to shop around the internet and making a lot of phone calls. It really helps consolidate the use of your time. So yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and Joyce, I don't know if you are also plugged into the South Sound Plan Giving Council, which has a monthly program one way or another, and the Philanthropy Summit, the big gathering of all fundraisers and professional advisors, is happening at the end of this month on the 27th, Friday. There's still a few spots left. If you haven't signed up already, you can do it. It's $150 right now, but on the day of, if you decide you want to come, it's $175. You get the pleasure of putting another $25 into it, but it's worth it. It's worth every penny, believe me. And it's gonna be a good one this year. We've got some pullouts, we've got some breakouts, and we've got roundtables. And there's something for everybody. I don't care what level of expertise you have, there's something for everybody at the Philanthropy Summit. So,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Sherrana and I have got a breakout table to talk about Leave 10 and, taking a little bit deeper dive. But one of the exercises we're going to do is really just how to talk to your donors about plan giving, some talking points. And sometimes that's the hardest part. So, these are just great opportunities to learn some more.
And I just want to reiterate what Evelyn and Dean and Rick said is you don't have to be an expert to have a conversation with your donor. And it's okay to say, you know what, that's a great question. I have some connections through my Leave 10 group that can help us get to where we want to go. And I've done that. I've been in the plan giving conversations most of my career because I worked at the Community Foundation for many years. And there's still plenty of things I do not know, nor should I pretend to know because I'm not a lawyer. And sometimes I play lawyer and I shouldn't. So I make sure I bring the right people to the table so that we're giving the best information. And donors just want you to be authentic. They want you to bring up the conversation. Again, when we started this poll at the beginning, like who has gone through the process themselves? Because I think once you do it yourself, it is no longer scary. And then you can, it's like when you do a capital campaign or you do your first ask, you have to be a giver in that process to be able to talk about doing it with someone else. So if you really want to step into plan giving, check out Free Will and go through the process yourself or talk to one of these attorneys that are on this amazing list, because once you do it, it's not scary to talk about anymore.
Right. So well, one other thing too, just as a sidelight, and that is when you're talking with donors don't care about what vehicle they end up using to start with. They're really interested in what they want to do with your organization. So if you did nothing but say, yes, we can find ways to give you the taxes, that's one little teeny thing that might come into play, but we can figure out a way to help you do what you want to do with our organization. All right. That's the story. It's an emotional connection between you and the donor, your organization and the donor. That's what you need to talk about. You don't need to talk about the technical side of it. That's where things get scary for you and for them. Okay. But find out, do they have an attorney? Do they have a CPA? Do they have somebody they've trusted for years? Do they have somebody you could all meet with over coffee or lunch and just talk a little bit about what you have in mind and get their trusted, a professional's opinion on it? What's really interesting is we in the fundraising side, we have an opportunity to be kind of the neutral. Oh, we do have something in mind. We do want to get the gift to the organization, but it's amazing if you help facilitate the conversation and the talk with the other professionals and become part of the team. It's amazing how much trust is grown between you and your donor too. It's really a remarkable thing. I'm amazed every time it happens, and I shouldn't be. By now, it should just be the whole goal. So, okay. Any other questions? I think we've covered it. Hopefully, we will see you all on the 24th of October. And again, two ways that you can do it. Just send out an invitation to the people you want that you think would benefit from it, and ask them if they have any questions to call you. The second way is to formalize it a little bit and do it with a group, and have your own little enclave. Instead of having to create the program yourself, the program's created for you. All you have to do is bring in some local professional advisors to answer the questions yourself pertaining specifically to your organization too. So makes it very, very personal that way. Okay. Thank you all again for coming. Anything else for the good of the order?
Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
I'm gonna bring the gavel down, and we are now adjourned. Thanks again,
Thank
Sherrana and Dean. Appreciate it.